All right. Well, no, that's terrible.
Not a good start.
Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Aaron and Justin Talk Sequels. I'm Justin.
I'm Aaron. Welcome. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, thanks. We're here to close out the East Rail 177 trilogy. I hate that. The Unbreakable Trilogy.
Yeah.
We're covering Glass. Last week, we talked Unbreakable and Split. And now we're going to talk about one of the worst films ever made. No, that's not true. Let's start off, Aaron. What is your experience with Glass? What are your memories?
I just watched it last night. I was actually going to start off with you because last week when we talked about Unbreakable and Split, you really wanted to talk about Glass because you were hot off from watching it and felt it was just the biggest piece of trash you had ever seen, and it made you so angry. So I wanted to know, a week later, have you had time to rethink? Do you still have the same feelings you did from last week, or has things changed?
I'm always going to try to make a point when we're discussing a movie to not just shit all over something. There's always going to be positive elements to a movie, even if you disagree with the choices the director has made. And while I disagree with some of his choices, Glass overall is a pretty good film.
Oh, so you have changed, because you hated it.
I still kind of hate
as
it.
Well.
Not last time.
Yeah,
that was two times ago.
I feel like you were drinking as well, and you're like, this might be the tequila talking, but I fucking hate this movie.
No. I've made a point of not drinking during the podcast, even though
not during the podcast. I mean, like when you were watching Glass.
Oh, yes, I was absolutely drinking while I was watching Glass. I saw this movie when it first came out, and I loved it. I loved it so much, and I was so excited to watch it again. And sitting down to watch it with that lens of what we do for the podcast, that lens of discovery, of critical analysis, I had a lot of problems with it. Mm-hmm. And so it's an entertaining movie, but when we're talking about Shyamalan and what he tries to do with his movies, it's rockier. He went one way with it when the audience wanted him to go a completely different way with it, and that was his choice, and that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
I still disagree.
Interesting. Well, should we talk about, sum it up here?
Yeah. Why don't you watched it the latest, earliest? It's been a week since I did.
Okay.
So do you want to guide us through?
Sure. Well, Glass picks up about 3 weeks, I believe, after the end of Split. And if you remember the end of Split, James McAvoy's character, the Beast, and the 23 other personalities that exist inside him, basically escaped. He let Anya Taylor-Joy, whose character's name is Casey, he let her live because she was broken as well. She was impure, and the Beast's, his deal is that he's going to destroy those who have never suffered, right? And feed on them or something. I guess that's kind of what his deal is, just because he's the ultimate human or something. He's beyond humanity, so now he needs to destroy in order to show his power or something. Is that what you got from it?
He thinks he's evolved, and that the way that he did evolve was by feeding on the innocent, and the innocent are not real people. You have to be a little broken to really live.
He's more about the broken people. If people who have gone through trauma in their lives, he's on their side, basically. So anyways, he's been loose, and we find out at the end of Split that it was actually a secret Unbreakable sequel, because David Dunn, Bruce Willis's character, is apparently going to now stop the Beast. So that's what we find out in Split. So anyway, Glass picks up, Beast is on the loose. Bruce Willis's character, David Dunn, and his son, who is the same boy who's reprising his role from Unbreakable, they got their own, he opened his own security place because he's a security guard. He was a security guard at the Warriors Stadium in Philadelphia, but now he has his own shop. Dunn Security is what it was called. But it's kind of like his son is now Oracle, from Batman, you know what I mean? he's the tech wizard, so he's the one that knows where to send his dad, who to touch in order to try to stop petty thieves, petty crimes, things like that. But obviously with the beast loose, where girls have been kidnapped and tortured and killed, that's a big supervillain you got to stop. So they've been on the trail of trying to find this person.
Yep, and just to step back for a second, so that means for the last 19 years since Unbreakable came out, they have been a team fighting crime. And for me, overall, that's a little underwhelming. It's 19 years of the same thing. We don't see these characters really advance. And that is what it is. We just see him as he is. He's Batman, and he's doing the vigilante justice thing.
Well, taking Shyamalan's comic book, but bringing it down to earth. That's like the whole idea. It's a comic book story down to earth. That made sense to me because you're not going to run in the real world. You're not going to run into supervillains all the time. They're just not. It's not going to be a Batman world where they all start popping up because you are active. Like the Joker says, he wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Batman, that kind of thing. He literally had Elijah, played by Sam Jackson, was the mastermind in Unbreakable. Well, he put him in jail. There's been literally nobody since then has been a problem for David Dunn. What is he going to do in Philadelphia? He's going to just stop crime. So it made sense to me that this is all they do is just stop thieves and basic crime. There's probably like a raping here and there and a murder and stuff like that he's got involved in. But it makes sense to me that there's no supervillain, I guess.
Like, I like the idea that over those 19 years that those two, at the very least, thought about wearing a mask. And I like the thought at least a few nights he went out with a mask on just to see, and he hated it. And he was like, no, I'm not doing that. And I just thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Because they talk about his name that the newspapers have given him, just like Batman. What was it? I forget.
The Overseer.
The Overseer.
Because he had maybe a couple that there might have been talk of it in Unbreakable. And then even in the real world, since Unbreakable to now, the audience have called him something as well. I feel like there was a couple names being thrown around about who Bruce Willis's superhero name was. But I think this film just wanted to choose one, so they call him the Overseer. That's what I believe. Because I feel like there was a number of names out there that they were calling him, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But another important part that his son warns him, and he's just like, the police are really looking for you as well. They're kind of hot on the trail. Like they don't want this vigilante who's caused a lot of problems as well, But I mean, he's obviously doing good things as a vigilante, but cops can't really look the other way like he's Batman. You know what I mean? So they're looking for him as well, just because he is, not really working, or he's on the outside of the law trying to do good things. Anyway, so luck has it that Bruce Willis runs into James McAvoy's character when he's in his. I don't think he was he was Hedwig in that moment when he ran into him on the street, right?
Yes.
So he bumps into him because Bruce Willis is. He has that power. If he touches, he can see bad things, right? That this person has done. So he ends up staying in this area, I think, where there's been a lot of crime or whatever, where they believe that this person is, because his son has kind of triangulated the map, and he thinks that crimes are happening here and kidnappings are happening here, but he's probably coming from somewhere over here. However he figured that out, I don't know. So that's where he's been spending time. Bruce Willis, David Dunn's character, is in this factory area. Just so happens to bump into James McAvoy's character, sees that he's keeping these girls hostage. He knows that he's found the beast or whatever. Yeah, so from there, he talks to his son over a mic. They have like a mic on, and he has an earpiece and stuff. So he goes and rescues these girls in the factory, only to then confront the beast in the beast form. They fight. They end up outside, and then that's when the
exciting
cops...
part of the movie.
What's that?
The most exciting part of the movie.
One of the exciting parts of the movie. They fall outside, and the cops are all there. Like, lights flash on. They're both clearly going to be arrested now, and they are. So then they're brought to this mental psychiatry hospital called Ravenwood, I think, or Ravenswood, something like that. Ravens Hill, I don't know. And lo and behold, Elijah Price is also there. Samuel L. Jackson's character from the first film has been
Dun, dun, dun.
basically a catatonic because he's doped up so much because he's such an intellect that they fear that he's too smart for them. So it sounds like they've just kept him sedated for the last 19 years at this place. So that's the setup, that they're all at this hospital together. And Sarah Paulson plays this doctor who, the way she tells it, she thinks they have delusions of grandeur. That they don't... She believes that Kevin, James McAvoy's character, has these 24 personalities in him. That's a real thing. But all of their fantastic feats can be explained. They're not superheroes. It's all in their mind, and she brings them all into a room together and can basically explain away, the best she can about how Bruce Willis does this, about how James McAvoy does this, and she may, I don't recall, get into a little bit about who Elijah is or whatever. But anyway, so then she kind of plants doubt in their heads, at least Bruce Willis and James McAvoy, that they might not be superheroes the way they thought. Now, is this the point in the movie that you didn't like, or you felt like kind of went in a wrong way? Because it kind of gave me pause in that I didn't really care to go in that direction, but I also was like, okay, I'll stick with you. Like, I see that it would be interesting after this hero origin story in Unbreakable and then the villain origin story in Split to say for sure we're in a superhero world, and then take the third movie where you finally bring everybody together and say, maybe we're not. So I did think that was kind of a ballsy move as far as his writing goes.
Yeah, no, I was enjoying every bit of this until the end.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Really? So because this was the part where it kind of slowed for me a little bit, and it got a little too clinical, and it lost the magic that I liked about Unbreakable and what I liked about Split. It kind of lost the moodiness because it brought him into this... honestly, yeah, the pink room was kind of cool looking. Everybody has their own separate colors. It's all fine. But it just got a little bit, I don't know, it just got a little bit too legal drama, hospital, ER, clinical, kind of, just, I don't know, must-see TV for me. That's just kind of how it felt. So it just took it away. It took me out of that world for a moment.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that. And for me, I think that's the reason why I'm such a defender of so much of his work is, while some people don't, his writing style can be like that for people, and it can be hit or miss, but for me, it's just heaven.
It's like when he's really on his game, it's because you're in this very emotional scene. So I guess when it doesn't work and you're not feeling the emotion, then you feel like he's failing. But I don't know if that's fair, so... Yeah.
I think it's fair, and I'll get to that a little later. Okay. But yeah, continue.
One of the other things is that in order to... See, here's the other interesting, is that she clearly doesn't believe they're superheroes, but at the same time, they've gone to a lot of expense and effort to create their jail cells in order to maintain them. Kind of like The Raft, if you know, from Marvel Comics. It's not, maybe a little bit like Arkham Asylum, but it's like this prison in Marvel where if you're a prisoner there and you have a superpower, your cage they hold you in is intended to like retard your power, right? So they have this in this mental institution. There's water cannons everywhere because they know that that's his weakness, is water. So that will, therefore, if he gets out of control, it'll keep him, from getting too far out of control, David Dunn. And then in the in Kevin's jail cell, they have the lights that strobe, and it makes, it's like a roulette wheel almost. Like if it strobes, it then has another of his personalities come forward. So if he's the Beast, all of a sudden they can strobe the lights, and it'll go back to Barry, who's another thing, or somebody who's non-threatening.
The strobing lights that they established in Split?
No, they did not establish that in Split, did they?
Oh, so you're saying that the psychiatrist
Yes.
that doesn't actually work at this hospital, who's just visiting for
Yeah,
these
right.
people, knows about some power that, or flaw for Kevin that Kevin doesn't even know about. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's true. So they just threw this in. He just threw this in this movie. It was never talked about in the first one. Because the one
Ever.
thing that did work on him was that if you said his full name, it would revert him back to his normal self.
Yeah, so why wouldn't there be just tape recorders in there and every time he goes through the door, Kevin Whittlecrumb.
Right.
Yeah.
But what if he had that idea for the lights and it's pretty good? Should he
it's
not
pretty
be allowed
good.
to use it?
It's good. He just
But
didn't
if he
establish
didn't
anything.
use it in Split, is he allowed to use it here?
He is allowed to use it.
Well, he did.
But you're really asking something from the audience.
Right.
That's all.
I agree. Yeah, that is maybe the first problem I saw, and that just came out of nowhere. But a problem that's always existed for me ever since Unbreakable is the water. Water, fucking everybody drowns, all right? Everybody's weakness is a pool of water, okay? That's not kryptonite. I cannot stand that that's his weakness. And frankly, they didn't need any of that in Unbreakable to talk about how that was his weakness. Because that scene where he gets pushed out of that upstairs room and falls into the pool and gets wrapped up into the pool cover, that was fucking freaky. Because you saw yourself in that. Anybody could get caught in that and you'd be dead. You know what I mean? So he didn't need that to be a weakness, like water made him weak. Like, that could have just fucked anybody up. No matter what a superhero you are, that could have really messed you up. So I think the weakness thing was really pointless, not even needed, personally.
I get it. Like, the people have to have their kryptonite. Like, it could have just been fleshed out a little more. Because we'll see that the kryptonite really comes in later.
Yeah. Well, sort of. I mean, again,
it's
everybody drowns if you're stuck in water. If you're being held underwater, you could drown. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
But if you don't have that, what are they going to do? They can't shoot him.
Right. And if you're very strong, you probably could keep someone from drowning you in water. But if it weakens you in such a state, could be understandable that they could hold your head underwater and drown you. I don't know why I'm mentioning this, but maybe it'll come into play later. Anyway.
Maybe. Who knows?
So as you mentioned, the doctor, she doesn't even work there. She's come from somewhere to try to save them from going to prison, I guess. I don't know. What's the idea that she's trying to get them to
admit that their issues are mental and they won't send them to prison. And you actually misquoted the actress's name earlier. You just said the actress's name was Sarah Paulson.
Isn't that her name?
It's the great Sarah Paulson.
Oh my god! You know what's funny is that I've never really cared for her.
No,
it's just something about her, just like I don't know, just kind of
turns me off. And I think she's so fun.
Really?
Yeah.
What else has she been in that you've enjoyed?
So I'm just gonna keep talking and I'm gonna blare it out right. She
was getting a lot of good critical acclaim for being in that Bird Box film with Sandra Bullock.
She was only in that for a minute.
Oh,
you didn't see that?
I didn't watch it. You know what's funny about it is that Josh Mallerman, who's the writer of the book, he's from Detroit, and I met him, and we talked a little bit at a comic convention when I was shilling my movie on DVD, and he just wrote Bird Box. It just came out, and he gave me a signed copy of it, and I gave him my film. We were talking about it because my sister Audrey worked at a gym that him and his girlfriend would go to all the time, so they knew each other. So she wanted to get us together because he was this new horror writer and I just made a horror film, and we were on the same level for that literal month of time. It was his first book. It was my first horror movie, and literally 3 months later he's fucking Stephen King. You know what I mean? Do you hear them talk about this guy? I mean, he is on the cover of his name is on magazines. He's written 5 or 6 books now. He's got movies coming out of the ass. Anyway, but I never read the book, and so he gave me the book. I just haven't read it yet, so I didn't want to watch the movie first.
Yeah, no, you have to watch the movie first, because if you read the book first, you will hate the movie.
Yeah, but that's how it always is. Books are always better than the movie.
I know, but this is just a popcorn movie.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. Sarah Paulson.
Yeah.
I mean, she has been active for so long. I mean, for the last 20 years, it's just been hit after hit after hit. She was Eileen in Bug, man. That was a joke. I have never seen Bug.
I did see Bug, but I don't remember her in it.
She was in, obviously, a lot of lighter fare. She was in Bird Box, Ocean's 8, The Post.
Okay, I saw The Post, but
I never saw 12 Years a Slave.
I don't remember her in there.
This might be one of the movies that, this might be the only movie I love her from.
That's what I'm saying. She's not bad. I don't know. She just seems like a...
But she does have like 25 major films to her credit over the last 20 years.
Yeah, I don't know. She's not my thing. I don't know. I don't know what it is about her. Anyway.
So, we are at the point where...
Yeah, she's trying... I was just saying how she's trying to save them, I guess, from going to jail is the idea, right? Or being put away for the rest of her life. Because she thinks they still have... There's value in them as far as scientific research goes, but she needs to make them admit or see that they're mentally deficient and that it's all just in their head. Anyway, so that's her deal. And this whole time, Elijah is just in a stupor, like he's not active at all. And that was the part of the movie that was kind of getting to me, is that I just thought he was being wasted, you know? Like, really? Because Sam Jackson is... Here's another thing I wanted to talk about, is that we were talking about, is Bruce Willis a good actor in Unbreakable? And I think Unbreakable is one of his best roles. It's very understated, but he's so good in it. And he's so committed to it. And he does a good job of bringing that character back in this movie. But he's just, he's not the Bruce Willis we used to know anymore. He really, the way they shot the movie made me feel like he wasn't even on set with them often. It sounded like he literally was just like able to be available for like 2 days. So Shyamalan just kind of had to make it work and write scenes that he didn't really have to do much in. So to the movie's detriment, he just wasn't really that active of a participant in this film, is the way it felt to me. I could be wrong, but there was some interesting...
Sorry. Are you suggesting they were drowning the back of somebody else's head?
No, that was definitely not him. Anytime he was fighting, I have no idea, but I guarantee you it was not Bruce Willis. But that's the beauty of the hoodie, is that, or the poncho or whatever, that they could use a stunt double. You know what I mean? Anytime you didn't see his face, it wasn't him. I guarantee you anything. I'll bet you money it wasn't him. All right.
Oh yeah.
But when they did show his face, it was always in close up. Like, rarely did you ever see him with another character. He was always by himself. And even when they showed the 3-shot of them in that pink room together, the wider shot was really far away, so you really couldn't even tell who they were. You know, it could have been somebody else posing as him. And then when they cut to a closer 3-shot, it was weird. He was slightly obscured by her hair because it was over the shoulder. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, it's not him. It's not him. Bruce Willis was literally like not available. Because
God, now I'm gonna have to watch this.
He's not that kind of actor anymore. He's not. I just don't think he's the A-lister anymore, and he can't be bothered. But I think he loves Shyamalan. You know, I'm sure they're good friends, and I mean, some of his best work was with him. So I'm sure he was happy to come back. But I really do feel, out of all of our older actors, he's just an old man now, and he's really not up for the hard work it takes to make a movie. And I only bring that up because Sam Jackson, when he's finally given the chance to awaken, he's the best part about the movie, I thought.
He's the exact same character.
Exactly. Like, because Sam Jackson is fucking 70 years old, but, you know, from his Marvel work, he is in it. If you hire Sam Jackson, he is 100% in your movie, you know? So he's, like, committed as an actor, and I think that's really cool.
He might be the greatest actor of our generation. I'm going to say that out loud.
He could be, you know? He doesn't do Oscar stuff, you know what I mean? That's why he doesn't get the credit, I think. Yeah. And he shows up everywhere. So I think those two things together, people don't give him a lot of credit. Like, but I think you might be right. He might be one of the best presence of you know, in a movie. Like, when he shows up, he's game, and I think that's cool.
I didn't realize, but he's in Spiral with Chris Rock. Like, it looks like he's another detective.
What's Spiral?
That's the reinvention of the Saw franchise that Chris Rock has spearheaded.
Right, yeah. Isn't that funny? Chris Rock is a Saw fan.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I actually trust Chris Rock too.
Yeah, I love Chris Rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any Fargo with him, but I hear he's good in it.
Yeah, I don't
TV show.
understand where that show has gone. Like,
They, I think they made like the first season. I think was kind of in the same universe, so the same time period as the Fargo movie. But then they just decided to go back to like the 60s in the second season, and now that's become their thing. So I think they went even further back, like to maybe the 40s, 30s for the fourth season and the fifth season. This is how I understand it. So he's playing a character in Fargo in like the 1930s. Like that's where the show's gone.
so season 10 of Fargo, I'm going to call it now, is a dinosaur show
Yes,
where the
I don't
land
know.
would become
At any
Fargo.
point, they could go back to present, or the 80s at least when Fargo took place or whenever it did, if they wanted to. But I don't know. Yeah.
What was that dinosaur movie from our TV show from the 80s, 90s? Not the Mama.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, they could just make it Fargo Dinosaurs and bring those characters back. Just a little edgier.
Did you ever watch that show? My dad loved that show. We always watched it.
Oh yeah, we always watched it, and God, I rewatched the last episode, and my
It's
God,
very
it was
depressing. I was going
it
to bring
was
that
so
up because I
bleak.
know that's probably the famous part about the show is that they had this real depressing end episode where everybody froze to death because
I'm really proud of them for doing it. Yeah,
And it was because of like a corporation, right, that he worked for, brought the end of the world for the dinosaurs.
that sounds right. It's been a
Yeah.
few years.
So it was like an event. It was like an environmental message, like we have to take care of our planet or we'll end up like the dinosaurs. I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah, it was like a Roseanne ripoff. It was like a Simpson. They took Roseanne and the Simpsons and they put it together, and then you got dinosaurs.
That's absolutely was. He was wearing John Goodman's shirt.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Anyway,
Where
the
the
movie
hell are we?
Glass.
Yes, right, that movie. Well, we've laid the
we're-
groundwork. There's the doctor. They're all in this place. Yeah, and I kind of tease it already, but Sam Jackson comes to James McAvoy's character one night, and he's surprised, not really catatonic, not really in a drunken or a pill stupor. He always switches the pills because he's too smart. He's the smartest guy there. That's his superpower. He's like the smartest guy in the world, right?
Yeah.
So he fools them, and they're all basically like in his world, even though they think that he's just a prisoner here. So he's able to manipulate the doors in order to like get out of his place, and he wants to know. He kind of treats James McAvoy kind of like he did David, Bruce Willis's character, in that he wants to see him be the beast to prove that he is supernatural, like he believes him to be. So he says, if you can be the beast, I'll get you out of here. I'll get us all out of here tomorrow, tomorrow night, right?
Yeah.
And so they agree to that. And there's other details. Like, I think Shyamalan does a pretty good job with bringing in the supporting characters from the last movies. So you have David Dunn's son.
Yep.
He's a player. He's a player as in he's playing in the film. And then he's trying to get his dad out of there. So he's trying to come up with ways to try to convince them that, like, hey, he's not a threat. You really need to get him out of there. He's fine. And then you have Casey, who's Anya Taylor-Joy's character, and she was the victim in Split, but she's damaged like Kevin's damaged, so she kind of has a Florence Nightingale thing going on, where she was like, well, that's more of like a nurse falls in love with his patient, but you know what I mean? What they call Stockholm syndrome. Yeah. Where they're like the kidnappee, and they come to agree with and respect the kidnapper. So that's kind of where she is. She knows that she can reach him, even though he's a horrible person.
Yep.
And then you have Elijah's mother, who fortunately did play a little bit of a role in Unbreakable, so it made sense to bring her back. I don't know. She's kind of the mother of a terrorist, so it just seemed a little weird that she was like brought back. Like the three of them are going to get together and be good friends. This is how it ends,
Yeah. If my child was a terrorist, God, I really like my kids. It would be really hard just to be like, all right, that's too much. Mass murder is too. Actually, no, mass murder is too much for the record.
There was an interesting documentary I watched talking to the mother of one of the Columbine students, and it was interesting because she's just like, I know what he did, but like he was my baby. Like I raised him, and he was my son, and he like a year of his life he went off the deep end, and then it resulted in this. But she goes, it's hard not to love your son. Like, how do you, no matter what they did, like, anyway, but they're dead. So that's probably why it's a little easier for her to think about it. You know, it's not like there's somebody that's in prison for murder.
Yeah.
Maybe it would give you more time to really not have any respect for your son after that. But anyway, she's on his side. She's always believed that Elijah is special, you know, and that the world doesn't understand him, you know. But it's important for the three of those characters, because really it's almost like the three of them get together to try to prove to this doctor that they are exceptional, because she wants them to believe they're not. So in their own little way, they're there to say, no, they are superheroes and supervillains, you know.
And there's a whole section of the movie dedicated to her trying to lobotomize these characters.
Yes.
She's going to lobotomize Elijah. David expresses interest in being lobotomized. He asks, if I do this, can I go home?
Yeah.
Be with my son? And she was like, yeah, sure. And they actually perform the surgery on Elijah. But hey, guess what? Elijah messed with the machine and he didn't really get lobotomized. I wanted to break in and sum that up because I don't think the part of the movie could have cut it. Like, really? It didn't really add any kind of detail or nuance to the story.
It built it up, I feel, to get you back into that world of Shyamalan where he has twists in store for you. So that was like the first twist of like maybe two more twists that were happening. So he gets out at night and, you know, comes and talks to Kevin to say, I need to see the Beast. If you show me the Beast, we'll get out tomorrow night. Only to go back to his cell before the guards come in, you know, at night, the RNs or whatever that are watching over him. But there was cameras everywhere. She made a point of saying there's cameras everywhere, so I see everything. You know, that was an important part, and they would show people putting up cameras in the parking lot and everything. So my wife, who watched it with me, was just like, well, obviously, why would he be stupid enough to roll out at night knowing that they would see him, you know, on all those cameras? And that made me think, like, it's part of the plan. It's all part of the plan. You know what I mean? So that was the first of a couple twists in that you thought Elijah got lobotomized, but he sabotaged the machine. You know, he knew he's on top of it. So they end up breaking out, him and Kevin has to become the Beast once or twice in order to kill people trying to stop them. But they make it outside, and Elijah is... Well, the deal is they want to get out because Elijah wants to blow up this building that's downtown, right? Because the world will see it.
Yeah.
You know? It was very superhero-ish. Or very comic-ish, I mean. You know what I mean? It's like one of those comic stories. So again, it's a little out there, but I was along for the ride because I'm like, that makes sense. You know, it's definitely a comic-type story. He wants to take the Beast to this building, downtown Philadelphia, and blow it up, and everybody in the world will see that the superhero or supervillains exist.
And that's actually a great point. He's taking that, just like with the machine, and building in a twist. Mm. He's adding this moment that he doesn't even intend to show you, just to establish a twist. We talked last episode about how a twist has to be organic or earned to feel like, for it to work. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times these don't feel organic. It feels like they're added in just so they can be twisty.
Yeah, I agree. I could see that. But again, I guess he got me with the whole go to the biggest tower in the city and blow it up. It's just, to me, it just was like comic book kind of storyline, bringing it down to earth. So I think that's just where my brain was, where I was okay with it.
Yeah, no.
But I'm also agree with you in that if they cut it, it wouldn't matter to the story, and it may have only been there just so he could twist it up later. Yeah,
wouldn't have changed his overall plot. Yeah.
So they're outside basically of the hospital, and Elijah is speaking to David Dunn in his room and gets him to break out because he wants to bring everybody together. He wants an ultimate battle right there in the parking lot.
Oh, it was such a good moment too.
Yeah. So he breaks the door down and comes out, and he and the Beast fight. And the supporting characters all show up, and the doctor's there, and nobody really knows how to stop this, I guess. They just kind of let them fight. And everybody pontificates about whatever and this and that a couple times, like Elijah does, and his mom's there. And then, am I missing anything important?
No, we are right into the juicy parts. And the music here is swelling, and you're feeling it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a well done, well directed scene.
And to me, it spoke a little low budget, like in a good way. Like, I could tell you made this movie for $10 million. So odds are they weren't going to go to this building because that was not a set piece that they were going to be able to afford in this film, you know? So having the whole thing take place in a parking lot outside the hospital made sense. Like, it just felt like, of course, this is where it's going to happen, you know? His intention was never to go to that building. He always wanted the fight between the Overseer and the Beast to be caught on camera by the multiple security cameras that were happening right outside the mental hospital. And that's exactly what happens. They fight. Casey gets a chance to talk to Kevin to try to calm him down from being the Beast, and then he gets shot. And so he's dying. Because he's not the Beast, he can take a bullet. So he's dying. And then someone ends up killing the Overseer, Bruce Willis's character, by holding him underwater. And it's one of the cops doing it, which didn't make any sense to me.
In a puddle.
Until they showed a little clover leaf or something, a tattoo that he had. And then to me, immediately I was thinking, I know we do have to back up, but I'm just going to finish this on. It made me think there's a little more going on here than you think. So this is going to be twist number 2. Yes. Anyway, but we got to back up a little bit.
Because we have twist number 2. That's going to be twist number 3.
You're right. I already skipped over twist number 2. Right.
How Glass dies. The big reveal that Mr. Glass, Elijah, killed Kevin's dad.
Yes.
And this was a twist that was totally earned.
It was
established
totally
in Split.
I thought it was fine.
And it was maybe shoehorned in, but it was established, and I liked it.
Yes.
The same train accident that brought us David Dunn killed off Kevin's dad, which left him alone with his mom to get abused, creating the personalities to begin with. Mm-hmm. Mr. Glass created the Beast.
Yes, and he,
dun, dun, dun.
In a way, he basically created the Overseer too, because that was the moment that it took for all the stars to align and for him to find Bruce Willis. So he kind of I created both of you. You know, that's why I'm truly the mastermind.
And so the Beast crushes Mr. Glass.
Yes, he punches him hard.
Yeah, like I just remember.
But his bones are breakable.
Yes,
remember. That's why
he's
got
super
fucked up.
powered.
Yeah. So Elijah's on his way to dying. Glass is on his way to dying. The Beast got shot, mortally wounded. He's dying. And then security, or one of the cops that finally shows up, is killing the Overseer. And you're just like, well, what the fuck? Why is he doing that? In a puddle. He drowns him in a puddle. I tell you, though, those potholes, man, those are death. Right?
It was a big pothole.
It was a big pothole. Because water is his weakness, so he wasn't able to fight back. I get that. He held his head underwater and killed him. But at that moment, they did the same thing that they did in Unbreakable, where he never touched the doctor at all before now, much like he had never touched Elijah until the very end. They shook hands. So she's like, take my hand. And once he took her hand, he saw comic book twist number 3 is that there's a secret society of people that Sarah Paulson is a part of that wants to keep the balance in the world. And for 10,000 years, there has been exceptional people, superheroes, whatever you want to call them, that are popping up here and there that they, as a secret society, have basically killed and got rid of because they would be too powerful for the Earth to handle. So that's why she was dispatched to this hospital to basically, I guess, try to save them at first, but if not save them, kill them. And that's what happened. Obviously, she couldn't stop them. She couldn't make them believe they weren't special, so they had to die.
Yeah, so their version of saving them is just doing the lobotomy and leaving them vegetables.
Exactly.
And so they're nice. They let them live.
Yes, they're not complete evildoers.
Yeah.
But that's right. I mean, that is totally a comic book thing. I mean, that's the Hellfire Club. That is I guess that's the only one I can think of right out of the X-Men. But a secret society is totally right in line with the comic book story. So I was fine with that too. I was like, of course, that's good. That's good. You know, so they're all dead. Elijah dies, and Sarah Paulson basically is like, okay, the world's been balanced. Good. I'm going to go erase the files now, you know, all of the security camera files, so nobody will have any trace that this ever happened.
Yep. Real quick.
Yeah.
Before Mr. Glass dies, Sarah Paulson takes the time at the very least to admit to him that he was right.
Yes.
And that this is all real. You really were special. And it allows Elijah to die happy.
Yes.
Which was just nice.
But he also knows that he has a trick up his sleeve. So
One
this
more
is
trick?
twist number 3 or 4 or whatever it is.
We're up to 4.
Yeah. And that he had one of his nightly jaunts going through the place all by himself. He had the ability to, because he knew of all the security cameras, he had a feed, like a live broadcast of the feed, whatever, go to a private server or something. And then he recorded all of the fight between all the exceptional people and everything going on. So he had a copy of it, and then he was able to, I don't know how he got their email. I don't know, maybe it was like kc1@yahoo.com or something. He probably knew his mom's email. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Maybe David's. I don't know. Maybe they exchanged emails back in the year 2000. It was the beginning of the internet. You never know.
It's true.
David was like, here at CompuServe, whatever.
Oh, I'm on AOL. How is CompuServe?
What was it? Yeah, AOL, maybe. So he emailed all to them knowing that they would get the word out. So she failed, and that she well, not betrayed, but she failed her secret society, and that the truth got out. But it's hard to fight the internet, man. I mean, it's hard to fight all that free exchange of information, you know, especially when there's streaming going on. You can't fight that people are going to see things go on. So I guess you're led to believe that the three of them, his son, Casey, and Elijah's mom, are all friends now, and they put the streaming image or they put all the fight out there so everybody will know that superheroes exist now. And that's how the movie ends.
Yeah.
Am I missing anything?
No, that was right there.
Now let's unpack it.
All
Where
right,
do we go from here?
It's really, the first 3/4 of the movie doesn't have a lot of unpacking. But I want to just expand out a little to discuss the things I didn't like about this movie so much.
Yeah, go for it.
So let's start at the very easiest. Unbreakable is a hero origin story.
Yes.
Split is a supervillain origin story.
You got it.
In that twist, does this make this a bit of an origin story for the secret society? Did we just get 3 origin stories?
I think it was more about, this is the episode where there's the ultimate battle is going to happen. So sit back. We're going to entertain you until that actually happens with this and that. You know, that's really it though. It's like origin hero, origin villain, big fight. That's really all it was about. It's just that I think he wanted to make the journey a little more interesting than just having them duke it out. So he brought in more characters, you know, he brought in secret society. Yeah, that's what it felt like to me. So I thought that, like, the movie is perfectly acceptable.
It is perfectly
you know
acceptable.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't horrible. I don't know why it got as much bad press as it did, but I also think that might be because nobody liked Unbreakable when it came out too. You know? Everybody talked about it like it was a real failure. And then 20 years later, they're all coming back and saying, like, you know what? It was actually pretty good. You know, this might be a cult movie. And as you said, this might be one of the best movies ever made. So I don't know if people are going to say that about Glass, but it does feel to me that people are really hard on it because it's not like Unbreakable or Split. But maybe years from now, people will be like, you know what? Actually, it was a nice way to tie up those 2 films. You didn't know those films needed to be tied up, but if you were going to make a reason to tie them up, I think this was perfectly serviceable, I guess. That's how I would put it.
Like, it's funny because over the last couple of days, Shyamalan has actually done an interview or two about this movie and about their reaction. And it really comes down to this ending. People were honestly just irritated that they killed David. If he had lived, I think critical response would have been way better.
Yeah.
And I'm just
it's kind of like Han. Like, I didn't really feel there was any reason to kill Han Solo. I just thought it was dumb. I just thought it was stupid.
I think Harrison,
because they brought him back anyways, in the last one.
It's true, and that wasn't a reshoot. Those weren't edits. He was brought back.
Yeah. What the fuck was the point?
Well, I don't want to talk about Rise of Skywalker. Oh my god. I didn't like that movie very much.
Well, it was just one more reason for me to not care about a redemption story for Kylo Ren since he killed his fucking dad. He was like a mass murderer.
But
don't kiss that guy.
Why make what's a comic book story?
A comic book story is an out there kind of story with extraordinary people that, because it's drawn and written fun, it's believable. But when you transfer that to an actual cinema thing, it gets a little ridiculous unless you know you're in that world. Oh, yeah. So I think it's hard for him to make that kind of movie unless you know he's making a Marvel movie. So that's why I give him props that he can make a superhero movie, trying his best to bring one that's down to earth, because it's a little goofy,
I don't even mean that. I just mean a comic book story, especially the comics that he emulates in these films specifically, which are the more old-timey 40s and 50s comics.
Pretty black and white, clear cut.
Yes.
Villain, hero kind of comic.
Hero battles the villain, hero wins. And that subversion of that story is why this movie hurt people so much, because it was all about the comic. He says it 10 million times over these movies, and then he just didn't do it. He was like, fuck you, I wasn't making a movie about comics at all. This is real life, bitch. What do you expect? People die. It's real. I'm M. Night Shyamalan. It's cool.
Yeah, I guess I hear you on that, totally.
So that's really just the big issue, is that he killed off all these characters. Oh, wait, no, I'm going to step back. And sorry if I'm hogging all the time, but
no, you're good. I talked a lot. I talked for like 45 minutes. I don't have anything else to say.
That's fair. So Shyamalan movies are incredible because of the writing. He is great at creating real human emotion through his writing and directing, hand in hand. I think just writing or just directing misses here, but when he's on top of his game, both halves of him are in perfect motion.
Yeah, and I'd like the word confident for him, because I feel like even if things don't work, there's still a confidence to it that he thought it would. And that's what I respect, is that sometimes scenes don't work, but I'm like, I could tell, like, that's what he wanted to do. So if it doesn't work, it's too bad, but at least he gave it a shot,
And I mean, he said it really hurt his feelings when people didn't like the movie. It was funny.
Well, you spend years making something and then somebody just shits on it. So yeah, that's just all part and parcel of what it's about being a filmmaker.
But I kind of touched his previous films before, and I'm going to touch it again just to reiterate the point. In Unbreakable, we have the story of a couple trying to figure out their marriage. In Signs, we have a husband grieving the loss of his wife. In the funny one, The Village, we have people who are dealing with terrible loss and what they do with that. In this movie, we have no human emotion. He's just taking established characters that he established super well in those two first movies, and he's not giving us another reason to care about him. He's trying to just live on the coattails of Unbreakable and Split, and saying, you remember how much you love these guys? Well, here's some more of them, without giving you a reason to give a shit.
I think he was in between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, he tried. He brought in those side characters to try to create that emotion, and it just falls flat.
I think this shows why he's better at creating new films, and he should stick with that. You know what I mean? He made Unbreakable. He made Split. Very good films. But he turned it into a franchise, so he had to deliver. So we had to say like, all right, well, I'm going to give you the third movie. All right. And it's not going to be like any movie I've made before because it's got to be different. I have to tie up all these loose ends. You didn't even know we're loose ends. But since I made Split take place in Unbreakable's universe, if we're going to make a third movie, it's got to be a battle royale. And I have to make it an entertaining journey. So I'm going to put this whole story together. But that's not where his strengths lie. His strengths lie in coming up with new worlds and one film, like one singular film, and then he moves on to something else. That's where his strengths lie. He's not a sequel director.
And I just want to point out real quick, everything that I just said, all those scenes in those movies, the characters find their redemption. They find what they were looking for. Like, they win over and over. The audience is allowed to cheer for these characters because at the end of the day, there's some kind of emotional catharsis that the characters feel and experience, and we get to see it, and we're happy for them. Yeah, we're not happy for anybody in this movie.
I mean, maybe from his perspective, it is a happy ending, and that the family can live on knowing that they proved their loved ones were spectacular to the world. Maybe that's his version of a happy ending. But I think I'm with you in that the audience would be more about it if Bruce Willis could have actually enjoyed in that happy ending.
you just hit the nail on the head. I bet you $5 his mom had just died, and this was some kind of treaty on how we're perceived after our death. I hope your mom's still alive, M. Night. I'm sorry, but no, like somebody important in his life dies, and he's sitting there thinking about it, and it's like,
yeah.
Wow, it really is more important how we remember them than what they actually did.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
I mean, maybe there's a bigger thing about how all comic book stories are subverted stories on legends that were true back in the day. That was his whole point. And that was the whole point Elijah was always trying to make about how extraordinary things did happen. Comics just have had fun with it. But there's truths in there. So maybe there's some cerebral thing we're missing where he's trying to say that at the end, and that there's these legends of these three extraordinary people, and they can't be here anymore because in order to be a legend, you have to be gone, and your story has to move on or something like that. It has to live on,
You know what? I think he's going there too.
But I think it bothered us because we liked Unbreakable. We liked Split. And whether they were good or bad guys, they were characters we came to know, and he killed them all.
And he killed them all.
So he created these characters only to kill them.
And just to say it out loud, the bad guy won.
Yeah, and that does go against basically what he was making you believe in the first two films,
That really feels good to get this all off my chest. I've been waiting to say those words out loud. Now I have to literally watch. I might watch it again tonight just so I could watch the Bruce Willis scenes.
Yeah.
But I have.
I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but I just I don't know. He stands out as one guy that is kind of phoning it in a little bit. He's still good. It's not like he's bad, but he just seems like he's not. Like, he shows up hunched over and kind of just walking slow. Like, he's just an older dude now. So he's just like, yeah, what do you want me to do? I'm here. He just doesn't have that. He doesn't have that pep that Sam Jackson still brings in his older age, to these roles.
I still think he did a better job than he has lately. Like, I thought that was David Dunn.
Yeah. See, I do think he still brought back that character. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it almost felt like Once Upon a Time in Mexico, in that they took who was arguably the better lead, I felt.
Yeah.
But, Jason McAvoy's a good lead, too. He was good in his film. But I still think that as far as the Unbreakable Trilogy goes, it's Bruce Willis's movies. So they sidelined the main character in the third movie, and that's what they did to the mariachi, you know what I mean? So that felt like kind of an insult to me as well. Where maybe Shyamalan could have really given Bruce Willis something to really sink into, could have really revitalized his career or something with this movie, and that didn't happen.
Do you know what would have made this movie better? Even with the ending?
What's that?
If they could have gotten Robin Wright back, and I don't think they could.
That was a miss too, as well.
Yeah. Oh, she died. Whatever.
Yeah. Because they didn't seem too broken up about it at the beginning. Like the doctor made a point of saying that she died, and it really drove the two of them kind of in this spiral of all they I don't know, like they were depressed or something. But him and his son didn't really seem that way. They seemed to be having a father-son business, and they seemed to have some laughs, and
Yeah,
they really got along together.
the only time we felt it was when David walked into his house alone.
Yes.
And it's
I know something to talk about. What do you think about Shyamalan's cameos?
I like him. Like
Yeah.
he wants to be Hitchcock, and go ahead. Hitchcock was great. Be Hitchcock.
It's a little cringy. It's always been a little cringy.
Oh yeah, but I don't know.
Because
I love
like,
Shyamalan.
everybody knows that's him. He's not like he's a bad actor. I don't know. It just stands out. He never can get lost in a role. It's always, there's the director.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe when I think he played a doctor in The Sixth Sense, like that worked because nobody knew who the fuck he was at that point. But now everybody knows who he is and they know what he looks like. And for a 50-year-old man, he has like he has hair like a 20-year-old. So it's kind of funny.
I don't think he has been in every one of his movies.
I doubt he was in After Earth, but
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
I don't think
The
Will
Last
Smith would have
Airbender.
let him. Again, I forget. You told me last episode. Have you seen The Happening?
No, I've only seen like the funny parts of it. I've never actually watched the whole thing.
I want you to find a way to watch that because it is a good popcorn movie, no matter
Is
how
he in
bad.
that? Does he get eaten by something? Or...
I want you to see if you can find him. Because,
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. For those who keeping track at home, I think we're at 4 twists. If we're wrong and there are more twists that we don't realize, shut up. We don't care. Don't message us on social media. But are you ready for the 5th secret twist? This is how we're going to end the show.
Yes, please. I didn't know there was a 5th secret twist.
So they've made it very clear over the course of these movies that every time one appears, another appears. And we are at 3 characters. We're short one more character.
Okay.
So, like, a Glass was there, and then David Dunn was there, and then the Beast was there. And we have Unbreakable, Glass, and I mean the name of the movie is Split, but what is he? He is broken. He loves the broken. So he's the Horde, but he's broken. We have Glass and we have Unbroken. I feel like there's a 4th character that's the opposite of Mr. Glass. Because they make it very clear.
Well, wasn't Bruce Willis the opposite of Mr. Glass?
Was he?
Because he was unbreakable and Glass was breakable.
I don't know, but that's just...
So you don't know. You don't have any theory.
Oh, no. Like,
You
this
just
is
think
just
that
a
this exists.
ridiculous fan theory that I think at some point Shyamalan will come out and be like, oh, yeah, I always had this 4th film because there was only 3, and I told you for every one, there's another one.
No, I feel like that works for Unbreakable, and then it doesn't work once he made Split a part of the universe, you know? Because in the Unbreakable universe, it was just the 2 of them, and they were opposites. So that made sense in that movie, but once he brought Split into that universe, it doesn't really make sense anymore unless he really wanted to bring somebody else out. But since he didn't, it's kind of a throwaway theory.
You know what? That's a terrible theory. I hate it. I'm glad we had the chance to talk it through because I've been thinking about it for a week. It just took somebody else really for me to say it out loud where I was like, oh, that's not good.
I think I'm just constantly a Shyamalan defender.
I will always be a Shyamalan defender no matter how much he shoots me in the foot.
I don't think you have to be, but I do think I feel for him because it's hard to be a writer-director, you know? It's hard to create your work. And a lot of great directors out there don't create the origin of it, you know? They come in and make it their own, to their credit. But Scorsese's not writing shit, you know what I mean? Spielberg's not writing shit. He wrote one, but like they don't do stuff, you know?
He wrote one. Please tell me it's not 1947.
1941.
1941,
but no,
sorry.
It wasn't that. It was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That was Spielberg's story. So he had one good idea in his whole career. You know what I mean?
I've never seen that.
Oh, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, I was.
I don't think Scorsese's written anything. I'm pretty sure he's not a writer. But, you know, I mean, all these guys. Tarantino, I mean, he obviously writes his own shit. So I just think like it's hard to have a career and it's hard to constantly create new things. So I give him credit for trying to make a wrap-up movie, and he created a franchise where he's never really been a sequel director. But I think he did it, and it's done, and I don't really think he's probably going to do it again. I think he's going to move on, and whatever this new film of his is called Old, you know. But I'm glad he did do a sequel because we can talk about him now. Because I do think, and how you put it last time, and that we were at the right age to witness this guy's career. You know, the Shyamalan filmography was, I think, an important part of our childhood. You know, or our formative years.
I think a lot of people younger than us don't have a clue who he is. I think the age range for him is like 30 to 60, and it's a good age range. But
yeah. I think you had to be, 16 to 25 at the turn of the century to really, I think, appreciate what he was doing.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? If you saw him in those formative years, then you may be more of a defender for him nowadays.
Okay, wait. I had no idea about this. Scorsese has written a lot of shit.
Has he?
Yeah. He wrote Who's Knocking at My Door, his first.
Yeah. Okay.
He wrote Mean Streets.
Yeah.
Wikipedia claims he wrote Raging Bull, but it's uncredited, so whatever. Maybe some.
Well, that was a book. I mean, that's based on Jake LaMotta's actual life, you know.
Right.
So
right.
It's not like so. Again, that fits my description of him, and that he didn't like create these worlds, you know, or characters.
Oh, like original stories.
Yeah,
that's very fair. Because he wrote Goodfellas, he wrote Age of Innocence, he wrote Casino, and he wrote
again
Silence.
All based on books, you know.
Yeah, he's not an original screenplay kind of guy.
Right. Yeah, he's perfectly fine for what he does, you know.
But, oh yeah. I mean,
I'm reading a book on Chinatown and how Robert Towne wrote that, and he wrote the script, and people always call the script of Chinatown the greatest script ever written. A lot of people say that.
Really?
But it's funny reading the book and actually getting the true story, and that yes, Robert Towne wrote Chinatown, but he wrote a 300-page version of Chinatown that was his baby, and Polanski was like, I'm not filming any of that. So Polanski took it and rewrote. He tried to work with Towne on it, but they could not work together. So he just wrote his own version of it. I mean, everything about the movie is pretty much Polanski. I mean, the main idea is Robert Towne, and it's his story, but Polanski's made that film his own. He rewrote the script and the ending and everything in his way. So it's funny that Towne wins an Oscar for it. He goes up there and wins an Oscar, and they talk about the greatest. I'm like, well, what you see on camera is not what Towne wrote. That's for sure. If this book is to be believed, then I don't see why it wouldn't be. But anyway, I just thought that was funny. Robert Towne's a great writer. Don't get me wrong. I love him. He wrote a lot of good stuff.
On that note, with Chinatown, we're wrapping up our episode on Glass.
Yes.
I hope you join us next week as we cover one of my favorite recent sequels, Blade Runner 2049.
Oh my God, that is true.
I'm excited to revisit that movie.
That again.
You're gonna watch it again and be like, I love this.
Let me give you a little teaser of next week's episode on Blade Runner 2049. This is gonna be what I ask next time. What's the guy's name?
Ryan Gosling.
In it? Ryan Gosling. Who the fuck is giving this guy work? I just do not see. I even like that movie, and I don't even dislike him. He's perfectly fine in things. But the guy has no charisma that I can detect. I feel he is like, he's what when you look at Bruce Willis in Unbreakable and be like, is he good? This is what I think about Ryan Gosling, where I'm just like, is this how he's playing this role? With no emotion whatsoever? Is this what we're going to have to deal with here? I don't know. I'm just not a big Ryan Gosling fan. But I do like that film. Join
us next week as we discuss whether or not Ryan Gosling can act. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Papyrus, though. He was great in that. The SNL thing I sent you.
Oh my God, it was so good.
That's so fucking funny.
I know for a fact that if he hosts again, they will do a sequel to that.
Really?
Like, I've just a bit Maybe. That's that good. They usually revisit.
So good, man. I love it. Anyway, yeah, let's wrap this up again.
We need to make a quick decision here, and we might as well do it on air so that everybody's on the same page.
Okay.
When you rewatch Blade Runner, are you going to do original cut or director's cut? Because I own them both, and I'll do whatever.
I would just do whatever the most popular version is, theatrical version. Like, what is that everybody would know? I mean, is the director's cut like it? Well, see, from what I understand, like it totally changes the story around, doesn't it?
It's the director's cut is supposed to give you a more definitive answer, even though it's not definitive.
If Decker is a replicant,
yes,
but the actual people go and watch Blade Runner who haven't seen Blade Runner yet, or they went and saw it in theaters. That version, I feel like, is the one we should probably watch.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm very excited for that. I really appreciate everyone tuning in and listening. Please remember to give us a review, subscribe to us, do whatever you want to do to support the podcast. We appreciate it.
Tell your mom about us.
Tell your mom about us. We love moms. Aaron loves moms. Justin loves moms. Who doesn't love a mom? All right. But until next week, we will talk to you later.
Yeah, keep it real.
Bye.